everyone's been asking us if we are going to use the Back to Eden gardening technique, and we have
Ta-da!
these. We got some wood chips. We're super excited. But one thing that I see really often on YouTube is people making videos about having done the Back to Eden style gardening and then after a year giving up and saying that it was a failure. And one of the big components to the Back to Eden gardening technique that I think some people are missing is that it's not just wood chips.
Yeah.
Wood chips aren't the only ingredient. They're just one of the ingredients.
The missing component for lots of people is the fact that it's not just wood chips, it's also manure and wood chips and thyme. So it's more of a wood chip compost with, manure mixed into it. And that is like super fertile and stuff. But if you just go and throw wood chips on your garden, then the decomposition process will take nitrogen from your soil and it'll actually make things less fertile. There's a reason why we use wood chips as like a weed suppressor on our gardens, right? So it can't both be a weed suppressor and, the secret to the most amazing gardens ever.
You could start a garden, put down pure wood chips, plant seeds into it, and the seeds would start to grow. It would look like it's going to be really successful, but then give it a couple weeks and your plants are going to start to die off. Seeds actually hold everything a seedling needs to survive. That's the reason why we can make sprouts just in a jar as long as there's moisture to get that seed to pop. Those first false leaves before they put on their true leaves, all that energy is actually inside the seed. So we could throw a handful of seeds in here and have them start to grow and think that the technique's really working, but then a month later all of our plants would be struggling and dying, and then we'd get really frustrated because we think that something had gone wrong.
Serena's right.
For us, living in the Okanagan, it's really dry here. A lot of people have big success with the wood chips as a material, especially in the Pacific Northwest. Part of that is it's so moist and there's so many trees that it's easy to get the wood chips, and then the moisture is actually getting into the wood and breaking it down really quickly.
We are getting into our wet season though, so our plan is to get as much of this wood chip material as possible. We've contacted some tree service companies in the area, and they're happy to drop off,
Whatever we'll take.
yeah, because it means that they don't have to pay for the dump trip, and they also, for some people, we're closer than taking it all to the dump, so it saves on their labor as well. So when it works for them and it works for us, it's all good. Most of the trees that grow naturally in this area are pine trees, and they're very acidic, so that's not really something that'd be super beneficial.
The thing that the tree companies are actually dropping off to us isn't actually chipped up, logs. They don't have the ability to do that, and they have people take the wood. The
Yeah.
wood has value as wood for firewood and things like that. So what they actually end up mulching and then dropping as their chips is branches mostly. So with the pine, what you're really getting is a load of pine needles.
Yeah.
And they're
Then
just
that's where,
so acidic.
yeah, so acidic, right? There's a reason nothing grows under pine trees, and we don't want to be spreading that around on our garden. Although Serena's convinced that fireplace ash.
Yeah, ash is alkaline
Yeah,
and pine is acidic. So science.
but we're not there yet. Uh, so one of the things that was pretty surprising to us, these are elms. Chinese elms is what they're known around. I'm not sure if that's their official name, but they're like an invasive species to our area, and they're like everywhere. I'm sure they're in other places that other people have, because they spread so quickly.
They grow super fast, and then because of that, the wood itself isn't super strong. So they're also inclined to, you have a 30-year-old tree and a windstorm comes through and a major branch breaks off. So
Yeah, and they also produce a ton of seed that blows around.
they're the worst.
Yeah. We're hoping that this isn't loaded with seed. There's not going to be weed seeds in it because it is branches and stuff. We're hoping that it doesn't really have any of the trees seed in it because
Because we hate it.
because we hate it. We already have a field of it down there. So we already deal with it.
And that is one of the points that makes wood chips such a good mulch. It's the fact that it doesn't have the weeds in it like other ground mulches might. Even leaves will end up carrying seeds in
Mhm.
it. Whereas like with the wood chips, the amount of weed seed inside of it as a mulch is super low. So it's a really great
Yeah, it's a good
base
starting point.
for starting with.
Mhm.
So it makes a huge amount of sense to use it with gardening.
Yeah. Our plan is to do hot composting piles. Eventually, we're going to have, like next year, our plan is to have somewhere in the range of 100 chickens, like a significant amount of chickens. And we weren't able to really put that together this year just because we've got so much on our plate. It's like,
Everything takes forever.
yeah, and you don't want to not care for your animals, right? So we just didn't have enough time in the day to get to that step. But even still, this elm is moist, and it's already steaming. Like the day after it was cut and mulched, it's already hot enough that it's steaming. It's pretty amazing. So we're gonna go online and try and find somebody who needs, their chicken coop cleaned out. Our neighbors said that they needed theirs, but I think we missed our opportunity. Last year we picked up horse manure for free. Opportunities like that are around, and so if we can get that mixed in with this pile, like we think it's just going to light up.
Yeah, because basically the trick to compost is, 4 parts brown to 1 part green, and manure is like a green material, or garden waste, grass clippings, things like that is all a green material, and then the wood chips are brown.
Yeah.
Like for us, it's almost harder to get the brown than it is to get the green. And we're kind of in the perfect season to get all the brown material because we can start getting leaves and we can start getting these wood chips. And if we can build these piles, come spring, we actually will have a material that's going to be really, really beneficial for our gardens.
Yeah, and our soil needs some help. We need like a lot of volume to come in. These 3 little volcanoes that we have here right now spewing away their steam and collecting mosquitoes, they're maybe 1/10 of what we're looking to get this year. We'll literally take as much as we can get.
Yeah.
But
we only have...
we are looking for significant volumes because we want to be able to like top dress the whole 2 acres of growing space, essentially, right?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And if you are looking to do Back to Eden for yourself in your own garden, now is a really good time to do it. We don't actually have gardens ready for these wood chips. So our plan is to just create like compost piles that we then will spread wherever we decide we need it next year. But with it being the fall, if you wanted, you could get the wood chips, get your manure, mix it together into a garden and just let it sit. And there's a good chance that by next spring, when you go to plant your garden, you can plant directly into that bed. It would have actually turned to compost in place. Or, even if it's the summer, you can prep up your garden for the following year. You just don't want to use straight wood chips without giving it that time. Especially where we are, where it's so dry.
Yeah, it wouldn't be that beneficial at all. But, having the decomposed organic matter will hold more moisture in our soil. So So ultimately, it will be beneficial to us to have composted wood chips.
Yeah.
Also, I'm hoping that this becomes like kind of like a bug haven, and so partially what my plan is to get, you know, big piles of these wood chips going and get them composted, get them filled with worms and bugs and stuff, and then
Yeah, you can
just-
inoculate them. Like when you get compost, you can, if you have like a worm bin, you can inoculate your piles with worms. Just throw a handful in.
and then like turn them over, you know, periodically, and let the chickens just go into them, and you know the chickens will scratch through them, and
Yeah, you don't even need to
And-
turn them. The chickens like will actually.
yeah,
turn it
they'll
for
dig
you.
through it, and it'll be like a kind of like a it'll create eggs for you, right?
That's the goal, right?
Yeah. So like we think it'll be, you know, multiple things. It'll help with our water retention in our soil. It'll add soil fertility. It will provide food for the chickens, and
As well as be a way of using up the chicken manure. Because
Yeah.
you, in the same way that you don't want to use just plain wood chips on your garden, you don't want to throw plain fresh
yeah, because
manure on
you'll
your
burn-
garden either. Like it's all about the balance.
Mhm. And also in the wintertime, the kids can play King of the Castle.
Yeah, it's gonna be a sweet snow mountain.
Remember, Back to Eden gardening isn't just about throwing wood chips on your garden. It's about making a wood chip compost for your garden. So that requires a bit of time, and we just wanted to point that out because we felt like sometimes it might have been missed by some people, and that was what was giving them the bad results, because it really, in our opinion, is going to be like a super awesome way to grow.
If you know someone who is thinking about Back to Eden gardening or who has struggled with it in the past, make sure to share this video.
And if you want to see how our piles turn out for the next year, subscribe, ring that bell, and leave a comment down below.